I guess just kind of first question, the tape from Hawaii, just kind of what you saw, maybe you didn't see live in game action.
Well, I think a lot of positive things. I mean, I think it's the biggest thing that we took away from this game is it was a dominant win. Yet at the same time, talked about it this morning, a bunch of things that we need to get better at, a bunch of little details of things that, can beat you if you let them to stack up. And we got to start faster. I mean, we kind of identified, on both sides of the ball, I thought we were a little hesitant to, I don't know if that's the right word, but we just weren't firing all cylinders to start the game. But after that, our aggressiveness on defense paid off, our ability to get the takeaways. We really emphasized going into this season capitalizing on those sudden changes. Our offense went out there and did that. They were 5 for 5 touchdowns in the red zone. So tons of positives to take away from a good football game.
I counted 9 different blitz variations between 4-man rushes and safety blitzes. Has that kind of been an emphasis the last 2 weeks for Coach Schmedding to really kind of change up just the normal blitz looks to get more pressure?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch in here, and if we can't get sacks with 4, I mean, we got to continue to bring more guys. And, the run and shoot naturally allows you to probably be a little bit more aggressive because you're not getting all these motions and adjustments and unbalances. So you kind of have to have 3x1, 2x2, and empty. So I thought we did a good job of staying on the attack, and I thought we saw the results of that. But there was also probably 4 to 5 times if we stay in our rush lanes instead of getting antsy, we're going to flush him into sacks. So there's still tons of learns, and I think our guys can continue to get better.
You meant to try to use more speed with the pass rush. I noticed Cyrus was kind of lined up a little wider. Was that was I seeing that right, or how much was that on purpose to kind of use his?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, we need to get these guys rushing and attacking and running edges instead of just running through people. So we felt like we could get some really good push up the middle and allow him to escape. He's an edge escaper, so to try to keep him contained in there. And sometimes we did a good job with that, and sometimes we need to still make sure we're hunting and rushing that quarterback a little bit better together.
I want to ask about the Sailor helmets. What was your reaction, or when did you first know that was going to be the helmets, and what do you think of those? Just
loved
overall?
it. Absolutely loved it. I don't know the history of the logo, but I thought it was really cool. I don't know if it's a wartime thing or maybe you guys know better than I do, but we talked a little bit with administration about homecoming. We have just tons of cool logos, like every year just kind of swapping them out. And this was the first one. The scripted Cougs is awesome to me. I have the history of the helmets in my office, and there's the one with the old school, true Cougar. I want to use that at some point. That's retro. The W State. I mean, there's just a bunch of different things to honor our tradition, and homecoming is a great time to do that. So, the merchandise was great. I thought it was a really big positive.
Coach, I know you've talked a lot about starting fast in these games. How important is it to start fast against a team that's coming off a bye week and you guys have the momentum, I guess, coming off this win?
Yeah, very unusual. I mean, when you're part of a conference, this doesn't happen to you very much. I mean, really ever anymore. So obviously a big benefit to them. We talked about this morning as a staff, they've been studying our tape for 2 weeks. And, we got to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game a little bit. Obviously they'll come in really fresh, and we have to travel to them. I mean, very unique situation. So we got to be ready to go. Sometimes bye week you can come out a little sluggish. So we'll see how it goes. I think we're in rhythm now back after our bye week of staying on course. So excited to get down there, and it's going to be a challenge. I mean, winning in Southern California in general, I think I'd have to go back in the archives. I think I saw all the way back to 2013, the last time we won in Southern California. And that's including 3 bowl games, I believe. So it's a challenge. We got to make sure we keep the main thing, and go out there and be fast and aggressive, and that's full 60 minutes. That's not after the first punt or the first time they score. It is immediately out the gate, and that'll be a big emphasis this week.
Can you talk a little bit, you just kind of said, going on the road, but also you guys played against Boise State in a crazy environment.
Yeah.
Fresno State was sold out. This game, I think, is their homecoming game for San Diego State. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of having to play on the road, and you're going to get everybody's best shot?
Yeah, I think that's, like I said before in those other games, the ultimate competitors, that's what you want. You want to go in there. There's going to be a ton of Cougs there too now. All these Southern California guys wanting tickets. I've had a lot of asks for, Coach, are you using your tickets? But so excited about playing in front of a great crowd, great homecoming, new traditions. I know the Aztecs have huge pride in what they do down there, and they really support their team, especially since the Chargers left. And it's going to be a great environment. I've been down there before is challenging. So we got to make sure we're ready to play and play our style of football and not worry too much about them.
Last one for me. It's weird. A lot of these FBS teams get 2 bye weeks this year because of the Labor Day stuff. Yeah.
Leap year. I believe that's why, right? Every leap year we get 2 byes, Bill?
Something.
Okay. I
Okay.
believe it's leap year. If someone can check me on that.
You might be right. I just am wondering, what do you think about you guys getting a bye week after this? And I mean, is it helping you guys? Does it mess up the momentum, or what do you think about 2 bye weeks?
Yeah, I would think most people like it. I mean, I think you get a chance to make sure you get everyone fresh, keeping your guys, get some guys back from injury. I think it's a positive thing, and I don't, like I said, you get used to the one, but sometimes like last year we had to make an 8-game stretch. So this kind of gives you that little buffer if you're having injury concerns, which we've been really good this season, which has been a positive.
You mentioned it on Saturday how Hawaii, of course, was 0 of 9 on conversion downs. I'm just curious for you, what kind of growth did you see from your defense going into this week to kind of just make that happen?
I think it's a bunch of different looks, and I think when you can get some pressure on the quarterback, I think those things can be extremely positive. And we felt great about our matchups at corner. I mean, I don't think those guys really got tested. So it was trying to get the extra coverage pieces to the inside slot guys. And I think those guys did a good job answering the bell in those type of situations. So once again, if you can get it 3rd and longer, we've talked about that a bunch up here, you can have more success. And I think that's what it was on Saturday.
Is there any challenge or difference strategy-wise going into a game where you're just on a normal schedule but the other team is off a bye week, or at least any that you maybe could perceive?
No, I mean, you just know that they've watched every game, every play, every situation multiple times like you would normally on a bye week. They've also probably focused on themselves to see what they need to do better. Because this is a team that when you watch it, you can watch them in week 1 and 2, and you can watch them the last couple of weeks. They've gotten a lot better. They got a true freshman quarterback. He's now seasoned, has some games underneath his belt. And they played in a bunch of close games too. They pulled out the last 2, I think, both by 3 points. So obviously going there, playing on grass, I mean, that's a different thing. And when you watch it in the Hawaii game, they just top-dressed it with sand. I mean, it was really bad. So hopefully 3 weeks later it'll be better. I tried to ask Todd, Coach Schulenberger, to practice on the soccer field. That was a quick no.
Coach, when you look at this Aztec defense, obviously they like getting after the quarterback. Their DBs have been ball hawks the last couple of weeks. Obviously, White is leading the nation in sacks. Just overall, when you look at what they do defensively, why have they been so good, or what are they causing offenses to do?
The coordinator came from UW, and it's very similar. And those guys, I believe Trice last year for UW, he was a menace. 47's very much that same role for San Diego State. They allow those guys to get off the ball a lot. They're a little bit pass rush first, react to the run at times, especially against offenses like ours. And then I think schematically on 3rd down, they're great. Double mug, bear stuff, drop, bring stuff, zero pressure, tons of different change-ups. I mean, it's tough to really get a beat on it because week to week they're changing up a bunch of different things, and they're doing a good job of creating one-on-ones for 47. I mean, he's a high-motor individual. He's a hard charger, and he's done a good job getting the quarterback down, which sometimes, I mean, can be free to the quarterback. It's the hardest thing to do in football is to get him down, and they've been great. So, I mean, he's got 11 sacks through 7 games. I mean, that'll get you All-American status pretty quick.
When you look at them offensively, they got a good running back. You mentioned Danny there is getting a little more comfortable.
Yep.
Napier's kind of their deep ball guy. But when you look at Coach Lewis's offense, what does he kind of do? It's kind of a unique flair that he brings. What are some of the things he does that can be challenging for you and Coach Smeding?
I mean, I know Coach Lewis wasn't there, but we saw this offense in Colorado. I mean, obviously very different, but FIB situations, creating mismatches. I mean, are you going to put your numbers into the boundary? Are you going to protect the field side single? Tons of RPOs, midline kind of option read stuff. That's a little bit different, very challenging. A willingness to want to spread you out and run the ball. I mean, this isn't some just air offense. I mean, he's learned under Dino Babers and these Baylor-style offenses. So, obviously he's evolved a bunch, but it's very challenging schematically. I mean, you're going to stop the run. 15's I think the number 1 career rusher in NCAA right now, if I'm right on that. And, they got good space receivers to get the ball to. I think their offensive line is getting better and better. So I think it's a unique challenge schematically of where you're going to fit your extra numbers and how they scheme to kind of have an answer every time you do it.
Did you get a chance to watch Jaden Hicks's interception? And what
I
was
saw
your
it on
reaction to that?
Twitter, if that counts. Very, very proud of him. I mean, his time's coming. Just wait. I mean, he's still a young player. I believe he's 20, 21 years old. Would love to have him back, right? But he's doing tremendous things. And I mean, Shaw being a starter, Brennan being active. I mean, just to see, heck, Jack Wilson's on a practice squad. Just to see a bunch of our old guys in the last couple of years. Daion's starting exclusively now. So, just really proud of all those guys making big impacts.
What is it about your defensive development and recruitment and just whole process that you think has allowed you to put so many guys in the NFL in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I would say our defensive development. I mean, those guys have just – you got to find the right guys. I mean, we talk about a lot in our scouting department about having dynamics over dimensions. All those guys are extremely great athletes, love football, work their tail off, and put them in great positions to succeed. So, probably Hicks. Like, we probably don't get Hicks if there was COVID because he would have played his senior year and would have ended up at USC. But we got him, so that was a blessing. So sometimes you get lucky too.
The youth guys currently in the program, like just this last Saturday, Buddha and Angel having big days. How have you seen them buy into that same process, and what is it about those guys in particular that helps you? And
good eye. I mean, it was Ansel's best day by far. I mean, he's playing way more confident, way more sure of himself, using his technique. He had a great game. And then Buddha was our defensive player of the game. Obviously the big plays, the physical nature. It reminded me to Texas Tech Buddha. Now we need to continue to follow that up, and he needs to continue to get better. But when he's playing physical, downhill, and aggressive, and his eyes are right, Buddha's a really good player, and he's still got a lot of years to play.
Coach, initially after the game, you said you thought obviously John played really well, but you're going to go back to the tape. Did anything kind of stick out about his play last Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very controlled. I think that was the big word I would probably take away from it. And, I never want John swinging too far, just saying, oh, you're scrambling too much, then you have to stay back there. Just continue to find his blend. I thought his eyes were in the right place more than they were the past couple games. I think that showed with the completion percentage. And our receivers continually show if you get them the ball in space, they're going to make a lot of plays for you. So don't feel like you always have to force things down the field to make the perfect throw to make a play. Like Josh Meredith, even over in the middle, that's a big dang catch now. And Chris with the ball in his hands, Kyle Williams, Carlos showed what he can do. So just getting all those guys the ball in space is just, you're just a delivery man. And when you do that, these guys are going to make, your stat line look really good.
And you've also told us, I guess the past couple of weeks, that the Cougs have yet to play their best football. I'm assuming you're talking about both sides, or I guess all sides of the ball there, but what are some things that you've seen consistently throughout the last couple of weeks that you want to keep building on?
Well, I think the same thing. Like, we're always very critical about our performance when it's done and things that we can always do better. But the first thing every Monday morning, we hunt the good. Like, we are doing a lot of good things. We're playing extremely hard. We're staying together. We love it when we play good offense, defensive football. Like, Saturday was great complementary football. And we felt like the last couple of weeks we didn't always have that. So we want to get better at the 2-minute drills before the end of the half. We stalled out the last couple of weeks in those type of scenarios. Starting faster, I think, will be really important if we want to continue our success. And I just love the competitive nature of this football team. I've said it all the way since August 1st. And, having Carlos back, brings that back. I mean, offensive line is a great example. Guys have stepped up too. I mean, Cooper Mathers having that type of game breeds a lot more confidence and using him in many different ways. So defense stacking back-to-back really good performances. There's been tons of positives in special teams with Wesley Steiner, and Dean had 2 50-yard punts. I mean, the guy's nails. So it's just cool to see these guys step up and make plays. Hell, Leon Neal had a big tackle on kickoff. Like, there's a lot of good stuff happening in our program that we focus on that stuff too.
Receivers, I'm just wondering, how nice is it to have Carlos back, who gets his first touchdown in a Coug uniform? How nice is it? Tony Freeman had a big one against Fresno State. I mean, what do these guys give you when it comes to the offensive?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's a luxury, but it's great to have a bunch of guys that you can really rotate in and go make plays on a bunch of different levels. So I love it that all of them have their different strengths. I mean, we have a bunch of different skill sets, and we still got to continue to work players over plays. How do we get these guys the ball? I mean, Kyle's averaging over 10 yards a catch on these little bubble screens. I mean, he reverse field. I don't recommend that all the time, but we got a bunch of guys that are doing great things, and if we continue to get the ball in space where they can thrive and still get Tony Freeman on some inside fades and Kyle being a vertical stretch guy, I mean, it's positive and it's ultra competitive. We do got to work on our perimeter blocking. That'd probably be the other one. I missed that. Well, that was 4 flags. We got to work on getting our hands back inside.
You mentioned, during the coach's show on Thursday, the Scout Bowl, and I think Gage Jones was one guy you mentioned. For those games, how much do you think those contribute to kind of the way you guys can develop players when you guys are getting them into live action? In a year where maybe they aren't playing the actual games, but still seeing, live contact with quarterbacks and so on.
It's huge. I mean, it was the most spirited Scout Bowl we've had here. And I've been at programs where they don't do it. I've been at programs where they do it. And we use it as a huge tool. I mean, you're constantly evaluating your roster. And I never want those guys to get stagnant ever. So they get coached off that film. I think you can see their energy in their life and their playmaking ability, who's picking up the basics of what we're trying to teach them. And, I thought Evans Chuba was great. I mean, he was live, and he took some hits now. And he got back up and did some great things and made some people miss running the ball and delivering it. Our young receivers, I feel really, really good about all those guys, not just Chris. And Josh Joyner, you just – see the vision of him being another punch to Wayshawn, and his speed ability is just – it's great. Malachi Rice continues to be a wrecking ball. Frank Casano is going to be so good. Kamani Jackson's competitive nature at corner, awesome. You just get excited. This is the vision of seeing these things, and some people are worried about those guys getting hurt. They got to play football, and done a good job of doing that. And we'll probably get about 3 more before this year's over.
I want to check in on kind of some of the injuries. Nick, Quinn, Andre. I think Josh Meredith is a little banged up coming out of Saturday. I saw he only played 11 snaps. Just kind of what are the status on those guys?
Josh is the first time in about 3 weeks on a Sunday and Monday. He feels pretty good. Andre will be out for an extended period of time. Nick Haber, we're working back in, but it's probably going to be a redshirt situation. And then who else you asked about? Everyone else we feel good.
Quinn.
Yeah, Quinn, I think, he's from San Diego. He's going to be feeling really good. But, yeah, it was a rib deal. It just never got – didn't practice very much. So I think he'll be limited early in the week, and we'll continue to progress. But, he'd have to cut off his left leg to not play in his football game.
And with Nick, so the plan is to kind of just save him one more and then redshirt him, have him back next year?
I think so, yeah.
Go ahead, Greg. Oh, sorry. You're good.
We're working on our order. We'll pull a number at one time.
Sorry about that. I didn't know you were coming up. You said there's something internal about going to Jackson over Zevi.
The biggest thing is we don't need to discuss everything, right? Zevi is doing great, and he will stay ready. He's our backup quarterback. All those conversations are internal, and we'll continue to progress that way. And really happy with how Jackson played.
I have a non-PFF stat for you. 14 takeaways for number 6 nationally. How much is that the takeaway kind of part of the mentality on defense? How do you get?
We're number 6 nationally in takeaways?
Mm-hmm.
See, you give me these stats I don't even know about. I love that. It's cool because we set some benchmarks. I'm a big analytics guy. Everyone in here knows that. And the threshold for takeaways, if you can get to 20, right, really throughout the last 5 years, that is 8+ wins. Okay, and then on flip side, offensively, and it's weird to say this, but if you average 1 a game and you get 12, that's fantastic football. I know it's hard to think about it that way. So we're hitting both of those benchmarks right now on pace for that. That gives you a split of +8 in the turnover margin. That leads to 9+ wins. So we're playing very much winning football and really excited about that. But the ball finds energy. If you play with energy like Jim Murray, he could have not ran to the ball there, right? He gets there, what a hit that was, right? And kind of gets slung into him, right? But physical nature, you get yourself in a position where the ball finds you if you play with tons of energy. And I think lately you really feel that. And like I said, great team football for our offense to score those. So that was huge in this last football game.
Coach, I think heading into this game, you guys are like 2 touchdown favorites, which I know you don't care about. But, when you have a bye week coming up and you're facing a team, but they are, undefeated in conference play, just what's the message this week to, not overlook a team like this with your guys?
Yeah, I think similar message that we'll continue to use all the way since August 1st. It's about us, not them. And we're on a mission. I talked this morning, we look through all the good stuff, but we're not sitting here patting ourselves on the back either. We've accepted it, we won, we washed it, and we're on to a really good football team that's had 2 weeks to prepare for us. So the challenge is real. Going on the road and beating anybody in college football is hard to do. Another 7:30 kicks, you got to sit and wait around. They'll have a great crowd, and we got to go play our best football to continue to win football games. So that's an exciting challenge, and we're competitors, and we're playing for a lot. But at the end of the day, get back in the dark, put in the work this week, and let's go play our best football on Saturday.
Coach John was asked Saturday just about some of his rushing touchdowns, and the first thing he did was kind of credit a Chris Hudson block. And I noticed that it's kind of a trend that whenever he's asked about his own stats or performances, he's always crediting someone else. I'm just curious, outside of just performance alone, how you sort of seen him grow more as a leader and a quarterback of the team that can be someone other guys trust.
Well, I think he needed this performance because, there's a weight to play that position, right? And there's a magnifying glass on every little thing you do, right? And we talk a lot about that. I meet with John one-on-one every Thursday. We talk about life. I make sure he's handling the pressures the right way, obviously get his viewpoints on the game. But a great performance like that after not playing the way you feel like you're capable of playing is a big confidence booster. But that's the way this game goes. You're never just going to have it all every game, and you got to be able to push through some things. And I thought John has been a good example of doing that. So proud of that. And I think he's finding his voice. And, John, I want him to do it his way, right? That's very important. Like, this isn't Jake Dickert as the quarterback and, you got to lead the way I want you to lead, right? He's got to be authentic to him. Celebrating more was something that he talked about after, our conversation. And I don't know whatever dance he came up with there, but he did it, right? So he wants to be more involved with his teammates, and I think that's an important piece of this whole process because I said it after the game, winning can't be a relief, right? The higher we continue to go, we understand what the games mean, but we got to play, not press. I said that after the game, and I thought we got a good rhythm on that on Saturday, and we got to continue to do that as these 1-0s continue to stack up.
Good with Coach?
All right. Thank you, guys. Go Cougs.